Snowflake leads a $6 billion IPO Bonanza for software companies last week. Airtable raises $185 million and launches the Airtable platform. And it's time to introduce a new software category called the Vital Stack. That and more on this week's PLG123. So tab 1 is from Bloomberg and is about the software IPO Bonanza that happened last week. So 4 separate software companies went public last week and raised a total of $6 billion. So those 4 companies were Sumo Logic, JFrog, Unity, and the biggest one of all, Snowflake. So in total, these 4 companies raised $6 billion last week in their IPOs. Going down the list from smallest to largest, we start with Sumo Logic, who raised $326 million last week. Up next, we have JFrog, who raised $585 million, followed by Unity, who raised $1.3 billion, and finally, the big boy, Snowflake, who raised $3.86 billion for the largest software IPO in history. And look, side note, obviously a lot has been written about the Snowflake IPO. I mean, this was a company that started 8 years ago. It's not even a decade old, and yet it's already worth north of $60 billion on the public markets. And that valuation rivals large companies like VMware and Dell that have been around for a long time. So as we've all heard many times, COVID has accelerated digital transformation, which really means that it has accelerated and amplified software purchasing budgets for enterprises. And understandably, this drives a lot of investor demand for those companies who are cashing in on these new software budgets. So here's what to keep your eye on. The obvious question, is this a bubble? Is it warranted? What happens tomorrow? What happens next month? What happens next year? And you're gonna continue to see a lot of headlines like this one from MarketWatch saying that it's time to IPO like 1999, which will bring into even sharper focus upcoming IPOs like the Asana IPO that we talked about a couple weeks ago. So tab 2. Tab 2 is from TechCrunch and is about Airtable's new monster round of funding and the Airtable platform. Airtable is the newest private PLG company to raise a monster round of funding, and this round was led by Thrive Capital. So here's why this matters. Airtable has now raised over $350 million, and this is a huge vote of confidence from investors for 2 key trends in the software market today. The first is low-code, no-code, and Airtable certainly leads the charge there. And the second is product-led growth, because Airtable goes to market with that exact strategy. So here's what to keep your eye on going forward. I jumped over to the Airtable blog and saw this post from Howie Liu expanding on the Airtable platform and what that actually means. So the first component that they announced was Airtable Apps. This is the new and improved version of Airtable Blocks for no-code app building. And now you have the ability to code with JavaScript if you want to customize and add additional functionality for extending those blocks or apps. If you build a really awesome Airtable app you think the rest of the world should know about, you can put it on the marketplace and more people can adopt it. Next up is Airtable Automations. This helps you build in powerful workflow logic and event triggers to automate repetitive tasks. So this makes Airtable apps even more intelligent. And lastly, Airtable Sync, which creates a master data model of sorts to better govern and manage all of the disparate data sources that Airtable may pull in from third-party places. So to me, this introduces a new potential wrinkle in the overall evolution of software. So we've gone from code to low code to no code to now optional code. So Airtable has allowed you to build something powerful for your organization whether or not you can code. But if you can code, now you can jump in and provide additional superpowers and extensibility to the low-code, no-code apps built on Airtable. So there's something for everyone. And this speaks to the ultimate vision or mission of Airtable, which you see on this quote right here. Imagine if more people had the tools to be software builders, not just software users. Airtable says that is the real computer revolution. So tab 3. Tab 3 is from Product Hunt and is the #1 product from September 14th, a product called Dawn. So as you can see here, Dawn is the minimal calendar to organize everything. And if you're not familiar with the Dawn app, let's jump over to the website and see what this thing's all about. So you see that this doesn't just bring in a well-designed minimalist calendar, but also additional functionality. You can incorporate things like tasks and to-dos. And they have this cool feature called Spaces that allows you to zoom in on a component of your overall calendar, like what am I doing at home versus work, or what am I doing on this specific project, and give you a different way to organize your day. So here's why this matters. I see there's a number of categories that do well on a perennial basis on Product Hunt. Those include things like to-do lists, email clients, contact managers or personal CRMs, and calendar apps. And I think it's pretty clear why these are perennially popular on Product Hunt, because these are universal pain points that everybody has. So regardless of what you do or what company you work at, you need to manage email, calendar, and contacts. So I think we should call this something, and I think the Vital Stack is a pretty good name. And we're seeing the emergence of best-of-breed apps in the Vital Stack. Certainly like Dawn for calendar, or Calendly for the scheduling workflow specifically. Certainly there's Superhuman for email, and I like this app called Folk for contact management. Here's what to keep your eye on. The Vital Stack certainly has huge opportunity, but also huge competition. And that's not just from the next whiz-bang app that's gonna launch on Product Hunt that will be even more minimal and even more designy, but also from the huge platforms. Think of Microsoft Office 365 and Gmail or G Suite from Google. These guys understand the Vital Stack is vital, and they don't want to cede that real estate to other people. And so I expect to see a lot more competition from those players, very similar to how we've seen them aggressively compete with Slack, Zoom, and folks in that space. Well, that does it for this week on the PLG123. Make sure to follow me on LinkedIn for more daily PLG content, and stay tuned for our weekly episode drops of the PLG123 coming at you here on LinkedIn. Hope you guys are having a great week, and take care.